Most people don't understand the end game. They realize what's happening, get a little bit of insight because they watch some movie about the financial crisis, but they don't get the end game. So I'm going to show you what that is today. In fact, I'll just say it up front. The central bank digital currencies are part of it. And I want to highlight that. I'll show you what's being happening right now. Today, I think it's really important that we touch on it. And then we're going to look at a few other things. It really does connect all together, but you cannot have a solution until you have a problem big enough that you can call it a crisis. And that's when you could start to implement whatever it is that you desire. We've seen it many times before in the past, and that's what I'll show you today. So the very first thing is this. U.S. Treasury introduces CBDC working group, discusses potential routes for a digital dollar. You've heard about this all before. In fact, I'll quickly just show you the actual report, just so you know. By the way, links are in the description under the sources, that I didn't make it up. And it's not just from some random website. This is the future of money and payments, coming directly from the Treasury's website. And you can follow along with these things and read through it, all kinds of nonsense, because they really don't know what they're talking about when it comes to this stuff. They're trying to catch up themselves. They really don't understand digital currencies. In fact, if you look at what Neil Kashkari said, he made a very good and honest point. He said, why would we bring in this new currency? What is it going to give us an advantage on? Well, like what? He's saying what? What is it? Okay, we're already transacting digitally. We're already moving stuff overseas. We have full control. There's nothing here. And he makes a very good point. There really is no purpose if you see it from one level. But of course, if they wanted more control over the population, the ability to have a cashless society, and turn off anybody's accounts at any moment, well, then you take a different view of that. If you're just an economist, of course, there really is no difference, because the currency as it stands right now is mostly digital anyway. Okay, and right now this working group, at this point, we're still at the stages, at least publicly, still at the stages of talking about the potential benefits, we're talking about the drawbacks, what is it all about, all right? This would be very significant if they implemented this. Huge, it's massive. I believe, and I've said it before, that the central bank digital currency will be somehow intertwined with Universal Basic Income, or UBI. We're seeing pilot projects that are taking place all around, but I think that's going to be the way that they link it. People would say, I'm not going to sign up for it. But let me tell you why. Would you like to know? Why do you think the vast majority of the population is going to sign up to it? In fact, they're going to really want to sign up to it. Let me show you, okay? Tomato shortage in the UK is just a taste of what's to come. That's tomatoes. Yeah, I was just talking about central bank digital currencies, and now I'm talking about tomatoes. And you might think, what's this guy on? I want some of it. No, let me tell you, it's all connected, okay, I promise. This isn't just the mad mind, going on. I'm talking, there's a method to my madness, okay? Look, what we're seeing right here, due to weather conditions, due to supply chain, due to all these different things, that's happening in the UK. You're also seeing pears and apples and what was leeks, all these different items that you would normally go to the grocery store and see. It's not there anymore. Hard to get, too expensive. All these things, that's happening, okay? That's one. The number of beef cows in the US dropped to the lowest level since 1962 as the global food crisis intensifies. That's another thing. What are the results of these things? It's that you're going to get less stuff and you're going to pay more money. Very simple. Very, very simple thing. You're going to get less stuff overall, but every month you're going to be paying more money. More money. And you might think, well, these are temporary, these are cycles. No, all I got to do is buy Tesla stock. No, stick with me. What's happening here is not just a few disconnected events that eventually lead to something, but hey, we never knew it would happen. That's not the way it works. You got to understand, this is being largely controlled and molded and manipulated. When you look at this, at the history that I have seen, I have spent, in my opinion, way too many hours trying to go through all of the documentation that I have, like all this history, historical text, some of the most boring pieces of information when you think of it, but then you zoom out 30,000 feet and it starts to get real interesting. Okay, now stick with me, please. I'm going to show you why this is all connected to the central bank digital currencies. What do tomatoes and cows have to do with the CBDCs? As of Wednesday, around 30 million people across the United States will have their family's food assistance slashed, despite high prices and expert warnings about a hunger cliff. You may have heard of this before. I've talked about it in a previous video. Ultimately, what we're seeing here is that benefits are getting slashed. This is one element of that. We've seen, this is food stamps, but what was happening during 2020, the moratoriums, people were getting money for this, child tax credit, all these different things that were keeping the economy afloat when it was really a sinking ship. That's where we're going. You see what's happening here? Cut from everywhere. Yet at the same time, food prices are going up, energy prices are going up, and yet the jobs that are out there that are available to people are not what can actually pay the bills. So what do you do in these circumstances? What's going on? How can we actually afford it? I mean, something's going to happen, right? Not really. Nothing beneficial. This is just showing us Ford to pay near poverty wages at New Michigan battery plant. It's saying they're going to pay them around $40,000. That's really not enough for people to get by because of the expenses in that area and so on. For a lot of people, that's what they're going to get. That's what they're going to get paid, and they have to struggle. Okay, so we have a struggle that happens. We have a recession that happens. We have difficulties paying our bills because inflation is too high. Then we have this. The face of housing ownership is changing. A lot of different things are happening right now. We could see a shift towards renting and shared ownership. So you do not own a home anymore. In 1970, you could own a home. Even though interest rates might have been higher, well, not so much anymore. They're getting a little bit high, but you could afford it. It wasn't really that much of an issue. But today, it's a big issue. And now what are people doing? Well, they're saying, I got to rent for now. Or they're saying, hey, let's get the 7 of us to live together so that we can afford a home. Big differences. Younger generations are increasingly unable to afford traditional home ownership models. This trend could have significant implications. Of course it would. Because if suddenly Blackstone and BlackRock and all the big players out there are buying up all the homes, not just the multifamily homes, but they're buying up the single family homes, they're then going to rent that out to people. And of course, if people are always paying rent, especially from, like, let's say the current generation into the next generation, well, then they can't use that. Like, so for instance, baby boomers, if they, go away to finer pastures, is that the right term? They could then give the house to their child, and then they could either sell that or they can move into it. So that would allow them to basically get a home even when it was too expensive for them. They could then move in. But what happens to the next generation? If they had, kids and grandkids and so on, well, you have to split that and put that into pieces, and it's just not enough. So we've got a problem. We've entered that territory right now today. It's a big issue. You look at what's happening on the corporate side of it. Corporate side of it is an issue as well. Look, because layoffs, recession fears spur some companies to hire more gig economy workers. They're not hiring full-time as much. And we've seen for a lot of people, they're saying, yeah, I'm cool with temporary work. It's all good. And that's a big problem as well, because full-time offers a lot of benefits. You got your healthcare package and you've got stability and so on. With this, the way that it works is you don't work the 40 hours, you work, let's just say 10 hours or 20 hours or what have you. And that you don't know when you're going to get fired. You don't know when you're going to get laid off or furloughed, as they love to call it. You really don't know. And so at any moment, you have that risk. So how do you go out there and actually have really good investments and all these things? You can't. You're scared. You're wondering what's going to come next. And that's when there is a recession, a crisis, a problem that comes up. And what is the solution to that? Well, of course, during any crisis, they have the solution provided. And I do believe at some point in the near future, they are going to propose the central bank digital currency, the CBDC, as the solution to the problems of way too much debt, people struggling to pay their bills. We have this thing. It's called a CBDC. And what we can do here is we can offer you $1,000 a month. All you got to do is use your phone, tap wherever you go, and it's going to give you that $1,000 in that account to spend on what you need. So we've cut out all of these different things, assistance programs, the SNAP, the food stamps. We're cutting that all out. And instead, we're going to go to this. That's the way I believe this will be implemented. And we have to watch what happens right now with the Federal Reserve. I want to be completely clear. There is a case to be made that we need to go higher. Bostic said, jobs have come in stronger than we expected. Inflation is remaining stubborn at elevated levels. Consumer spending is strong. Labor market remains quite tight. What are they saying here? The Federal Reserve is going to have to increase interest rates. And that, of course, brings us in to the next recession. Yes, you can call it a recession now, but we're talking about official recession. When that official recession happens, companies start really laying people off. And then you see the turmoil. And then you see all of the effects of this. And I do believe what we're looking at right now in this video, could be, in fact, the case where they bring it out. They say, we are going to have the CBDC. They're going to have control over everything you do, every dollar you spend. If they deem that business over there is not one that you should be spending money at, they cut off your access to spend there. So it's not just about that, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything to, ruffle any feathers, to step on any toes. Well, sometimes you might just be going to a store and they say, that store, it's bad. Can't go there, or you can't I noticed that you transacted with this individual at this period of time 7 years ago. Now you're in trouble. We don't want this. This is not good. It's very dangerous. I'm going to do an entire breakdown video, I believe next weekend, on CBDCs. Stay tuned for that. How do you stay tuned? All you got to do is hit that subscribe button down below. And by the way, you got to check me every day. Okay, every day I got a new video out. It's the Money GPS. Search me, you'll find me. The Money GPS, you got to search me. It's not going to probably come out on your home feed for more than 50% of the people that I surveyed. So you definitely want to check it out. The Money GPS. See you tomorrow. Take care.